we've got this trend that's kind of flattening out. We had a nice move up and then penetrated through the CWAP and the VWAP, but you can see all the volume held. And now we've come back to it, but it looks like we're making lower highs. We still have a series of higher lows here, but it looks like this is rolling over. So I'm just sort of, what I'm really waiting to see is if we can print volume on the other side of this volume weighted average price. And if that's the case, then maybe we're starting a downswing. If this holds and starts to ramp back up, I'll look at it again. But the stop is getting wide, and we keep sort of running along this as we're moving down. So I want to start looking at it from the other side. And we've got these key transitions that keep coming up. So here's a transition here, right? And if you look at where that comes in, so this is the breakout transition, and then this is the retest of that. And it looks like we actually tested this twice. So we came down and then down again, but into this same level. So if we start moving lower, this is really what we've got to watch for for the breakdown, is breaking across whatever this. I'll just draw it out. Moving with the mouse too much here. So we've got that one, and you can see that lines up perfectly here, which gives us this one. That was the last real test of that. Same basic level. So I'd like to see a breakdown through this, probably about the 06. That looks right. And we're still just flirting around on this. And then also we got to watch the top too, because there's no reason this can't just come right back out of the high. Ugh, very ugly distribution at the top. We'll just mark it off like that. And you can see we're starting to print some volume below the VWAP. It's right on it. We're not quite there yet, but a good breakdown here, and we want to start moving this over. There we go. Starting to come together. See, now we've got volume below the VWAP. So let's take this and move it up to the high. And now we can start tracking it from the other side. And remember, we're not going to just jump into something because we think that the trend is changing. We're going to really prove it. We've got to get through this key level here. Okay, starting to break down. Now, if we rotate, okay, we just rotated. Now, if we start printing volume back up, this could very easily be a low, and that's why we're not going to jump the gun, right? We don't have any evidence that this has really started to break down yet, so we could accumulate some volume here and trade right back up, in which case we're not looking to take a short, right? We could be stuck in a range the rest of the day. We could come back out of the high, but until this is starting to come down now, until we really get some volume, clusters of volume down below, we're not interested in this being a short. And then of course we really want to make sure that where we're shorting from makes sense too. Like it doesn't make a lot of sense to have a short all the way up here, right? We need this down somewhere around the 07, 06. It's going to make a lot more sense. Okay, so I don't want to even put an order out there yet. This is too high to pull back into. If it comes down a little bit and we get a reasonable entry that's closer to 07 or 06, I'll go with it. The market's moving lower, but if it comes all the way back up to 8, that doesn't make any sense, right? None of the resistance would have held. So I don't want to take a trade all the way up there. So I think it's important not to just get overly excited about the market moving and saying, I got to put the order on. Well, let's make sure that the trade makes sense before we get too excited. I guess the other thing to look at is notice the bottom. We've got this one spike down here to 99, but notice where all the volume is. The volume's here, the volume's here, the volume's here, the volume's here, right? So coming into the 02 area, 0175, 02, looks a lot better than all the way at the bottom. So we want to be cautious of our risk to reward. Does it make sense to get down to these lows? So that really sets us up for this. Is getting closer. Notice how the entry is getting a little bit better. I still think it's too high, so I'm not going to put anything out there. Okay, now look where it is. Now we're in that 07 area, right? So let's go ahead and get our order out.
Order pending.
And we can lay that there with a lot more confidence given what's all of these transitions are showing us, right? To put something on way up here just doesn't make as much sense. All right, we're now at 6 quarter, which is one tick above where we've initially drew the line that we were looking for, right? So, it pays to be patient. I know you see a trade come together and you want to have everything work out perfectly right away and come back up and pick. Oh, here we go. Come back up and pick you up, but I mean, gosh, this
order filled.
There's the fill. This came together so much better, having the having the CWAP really move down, right? I like that far better than anything else. Let's do a risk to reward profile because I'm concerned about, you can see where this falls, and we were talking about O2 being a target area. So let's get our risk to reward ruler on here. We've got entry, we've got stop. Look at that, 275 is our 2 to 1. And if we look over here at all this mess of volume, it's pretty good, right? It's right on the upper edge of that. I think that's great. 3 to 1, let's go there. And we'll do a 5 to 1. And again, nothing magical about specific levels here. It's in terms of the targets, right? We're just mathematically coming up with something that's reasonable. And in this case, this one sits perfect against the structure. This one really doesn't matter. There's no structure there. There's a low down here, and then this one's outside of the range. So it's not anything special. We're just using some math to get it out there so that it makes sense for our risk profile. And then from that, we can then make adjustments. If this needed to be inside another tick or something to really justify it, we could do that. I think in this case, it really just depends on where you're pulling the volume from. So here we've got, get a line on this. Right. So I think we're good. Oh, was typing on Slack over here and didn't notice that the stop had improved. So now at 775 for the stop, so 6 ticks. Trying to work our way down to 275. Okay, wow, this is really moving down. Just a couple of ticks off there of the first target. Stop improving again.
Target filled.
Okay, there's the 2 to 1 coming off at 275, 3 to 1 just below. So we did a good job with that target being inside the right place here. See if this will continue carrying down, pick us up the 3 to 1. Keep moving our stop as well. We now just have a point of risk on. All right, coming down a little bit more. I'm getting concerned about the distance between the stop and where the current market is.
Target filled.
There's our 3 to 1. What I'd like to do is just like we've done in the past on some other lessons, is start to use the market structure for the stop. Obviously, if you just want to keep it very simple, you could leave it up here. But when we have a 5-6 point spread in between where our stop is and where the market is, that's when we need to start thinking about structure instead. So what I'm going to do is just grab this transition here, which is, you can see where we fought through. I think that putting our stop on the back side of that makes a lot more sense. So maybe we put it there at 450, and that gives us a little bit of room to work with. If the market comes right back up and takes us out, we're not giving up everything, right? Because right now our stop on the VWAP would be a tick behind entry. And you can see our 5 to 1 target down below. Let's see if we can jam that out as well. All right, so what I'd like to do is I want to pull our profile over and just see if I can get a better position for the stop. Notice this is another swing down, right? So we traded off of the full swing here all the way from back here. But we're so far away from the volume weighted average price that, and we're only a couple of ticks from our target, that I want to use a market generated stop, and I want it to make sense with this transition over here. This was the last one that we figured we were going to have to get through, and notice where the volume weighted average price is. So that gives me an easy way to bring my stop in a little bit closer, following the same logic. We're utilizing this swing's worth of use of volume as opposed to the entire swing. Okay, almost there, right on the edge. Oh, again. Well, we'll improve the stop a little bit. Come down just a little bit there to 0.2 quarter. See if we can get this jammed out. There we go. Hit. No fill though.
Target filled.
And there it is. So there's our 5 to 1. Taking a nice breakdown trade here. Remember, coming all the way back. The objective was to see it trade through this key transition that held so well, created support, right? That then we were looking for the support to be broken and become resistance and trade back against the CWAP, against the key level, and couldn't have had a better entry there. Nice trade, ending up 5 to 1 on our favor.